So a brand new machine, the capabilities we're talking about, only
3,900 as opposed to 2,500. I mean, I'm not a fan of used electrical equipment.
I've purchased a used one of those things before, and it died on us, so
That's-
those things are,
Well, we can make the contingency for 4,500 or something to that effect, that'd be enough to cover a new one.
with the pay sales.
No.
No.
Or we can table it. At the time when, and this was just last week, we had them in here twice, but, you know, knock on wood, it seems to be holding now, so,
Got another agenda meeting coming up in 2 weeks,
you know, we can wait.
so roll the dice for a couple weeks.
Table it? All right. The next item, I know Mr. Paul's here. I wanted to talk with the committee or the council here and get everybody's thoughts on next steps with regards to Mr. Paul's zoning request. The planning board made the recommendation that we continue down the special use avenue or route. But, you know, we want to give Mr. Paul as much concentration or, focus as we can. His request and that of his petition, and I forget, it was 8 or 10 people or something. Pretty much everybody in that.
Everybody in that area.
In the, all the business in that zone, so. I'm not saying we need to make a decision tonight, but I want to keep it on the discussion. I think we owe Mr. Paul at least that much consideration that we continue to talk in dialogue. We can make some suggestions, so again, that's really what I want to do tonight, is gather some more thoughts from the board. So maybe on this example, Todd, we'll start to the right. What are your thoughts?
Continue with dialogue with Mr. Paul.
Well, just continue the dialogue, keep him up, and he's got a request out here. I'd like to keep the dialogue going. Unless, it's, again, we're gonna follow the town or the planning board's recommendation that he only go right now, or take the first step and go for a special use.
Yeah, I think if, dialogue with any resident on something like this, or, I guess Mr. Paul's not a resident, probably he's a property owner. It is definitely, in order. I don't know, from my opinion, that, I would probably tend to agree with planning board's recommendation at this time. However, we can continue to look to find, to work with everybody involved and see what we can do to help him meet his business goals.
Does the special use permit, does that satisfy his needs?
It's not a special use permit, it's a variance, use variance. It's a use variance. It's not a special use permit.
Am I mistaken? I think he does have the ability, though, to come in and seek a special use permit for certain uses at this point based on authorization that was granted to him by the planning board a couple of years ago. Is that right?
Correct. Would that satisfy his needs?
No. He wants to do a use that is not allowed in that zone.
What is he looking to do?
Warehouse.
He wants to do warehousing and storage, which is not allowed in the C1.
It's not allowed even as a special use. In certain zones, you have things that are allowed in special uses that you can apply for. That is not one of the listed special uses for that zone in the zoning law. So he would have to change the zoning law to a new zone that does allow that use. Or he will have to go for a use variance in front of the zoning board to do that. There's two ways to handle it. Does that make sense, Lou, or am I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, again, Joe, thoughts, I mean,
Well, the alternative is spot zoning, right?
It's not spot zoning. If I may interject, it is not spot zoning.
Spot zoning is a very specific legal definition when you're doing something like that. I think the proposal that has been discussed before the planning board was to change the zoning not just for his parcel, but for a larger portion of that area. So it would incorporate other commercial uses there as well. And there are some residential uses that would be covered, or currently existing residential uses that would be covered by that zoning change as well. If I'm not mistaken, Pat, correct me if I'm wrong.
but isn't there a break, isn't there a
Yes.
C2, C1, and then the proposed C2?
Yes.
No,
And I think we've discussed this already, that a zoning change that large is certainly not consistent with the current comprehensive plan. And if you're gonna change that large an area, you know, and I think you wrote a fairly eloquent discussion on this in an email that went around to all the board members, if I recall.
That would be something that would need to be taken into
Yes.
account. So anytime you can't, the town's zoning and land use laws have to be in conformance with the current existing comprehensive plan. So if we would, one of the things the town board would have to consider before granting the zoning change is whether the change requested would be consistent with the comprehensive plan. Now, so the board knows, and I think most of you are familiar, is that the town has been in the process of updating its comprehensive plan for some period of time. And it's really up to the town. You could do it one of two ways. You could either, if the proposal was made and you wanted to grant the zoning change, you could grant the zoning change as long as it's consistent with the current comprehensive plan, and then later change the comprehensive plan. But if the idea is that we want to start looking into amendments of the comprehensive plan right now, it may make sense, rather than trying to make the two changes at the same time, maybe make a change that's inconsistent with the proposed comprehensive plan, that we wait until the comprehensive plan is completed, the changes are completed, before granting the zoning change. A change or amendment to the comprehensive plan is not a small feat. It would probably take approximately 6 months, probably at a minimum, before the comprehensive plan is changed. So that's something you need to keep in mind when you're considering what's due.
So again, you know, my purpose of keeping it on the discussion points was here, again, to, I know it's a huge concern to Mr.
Sure. And that's,
So-
yeah.
I just wanted to, you know, again, continue to keep the dialogue open, you know, work on some ideas, maybe, you know, dig a little bit deeper into the history of the property, et cetera. Bob, any thoughts, or?
No, just needs more discussion on it, as far as we can look at it as our agenda and everything else.
So, Mr. Paul, I don't have an answer for you, but
Well, my question is, it's been discussion for well over 4 years. Like, when the discussion ends and somebody make a thing that, why can't you do it? Tell me why you can't do it.
Don't understand.
Never mind the comprehensive plan, don't tell me why you can't do it. Why can't it go to public hearing, you guys be the lead, okay, and vote on it? Why?
Gotta understand it better.
What do you mean, understanding better?
I
The
mean.
planning board approved it,
so we're trying.
okay, if you guys read all the stuff, the minutes, all the stuff, it should have been done, as Pat Bishop's memo to you guys said, should have been done years ago.
Well, you-
It's costing me a lot of money.
So, Mr. Paul, please, all right, so I'm trying to keep it on the agenda. At this point in the meeting, this meeting is for the board. You know, I understand your concerns, I understand everything, but, you know, right now, you know, it's gonna stay on the discussion points. You know, I wanna keep the focus. And I want each one of the town board members to to look into this point and continue. I mean, I can't speak for what happened in the past. You know, I wasn't here. All I can do is make the commitments that I'll continue to keep the discussion open, keep it moving forward, try to move forward. That's all I can do.
I mean, you guys can rezone even just my piece and not be spot zoning, because it adjoins C2.
Again, I'll keep the point open and discussion open in consultation with, you know, with Peter and our attorney, with the rest of the board, and with the input from the planning board, zoning board, and eventually, you know, to public, but it's, you know,
I just don't understand why you can't have a public hearing and do it now. I don't understand.
Mike,
I mean, that should be the next step here,
we'll
why it
have to
can't be
have a
done.
zoning change, correct?
right.
Right, and that takes time.
So, I don't have an action, I don't have an updated, so maybe the next bullet, Mr. Paul will give you a little bit of, I don't know, relief. I mean, at a minimum, it looks like it's gonna be 6 months, to do, even just to rezone. But
Why would it take that long?
I'm working with him as a friend, but this isn't a give and take. So the next item is the comprehensive plan committee. So last month, we got the resolution to reform a comprehensive plan. So I'm gonna be asking residents, to submit letters of interest to join the comprehensive plan committee. I'm gonna ask, you know, Mr. Edwards, the way I remember the plan was it was pretty decisive. There was pros and there was cons. There was, you know, team on the left, team on the right. What I'm really looking to do is ask that we have an equal number of teams from the one side on the planning committee, comprehensive planning committee, matched by an equal number of people on the pro side of the discussion or debate. That'll be the committee, whether it'll be an even number. I'll be the deciding vote if there's a needed tiebreaker. So, I'm asking whoever's interested to please send me or the board letters of interest. We want to kick this off pretty fast. I know probably within 4 to 6 weeks anyway. My plan is to appoint the committee, give the committee about 3 to 4 weeks to review the comprehensive plan, become very familiar with it, and then kick off weekly meetings. If there's 15 sections, for example, to the comprehensive plan, then for 15 weeks, I'm going to ask the comprehensive plan committee to meet, and each week, that section will be approved. Some sections may go faster, some sections may go slower. But at the end of 15 weeks, or however many sections are to the comprehensive plan will be done. From there, it'll go to the board and to the county, and then we'll turn it around and approve it. I think it's too important a piece of documentation. It's our guide. It's, you know, not only the characteristics of the town, it's also, you know, the economic engine that's going to give us some guidance. So if we do go to Metroplex or somebody to ask for money or to lend this to help some businesses out in these areas, you know, we don't have a comprehensive plan at this point that's up to date. So at that time, to address Mr. Paul's concerns, that you'll have, you know, time to talk to the committee and you know, expand on your concerns and your requirements.
What plan are they gonna be looking at? We've got the ad hoc committee, the original plan that Joe and the committee worked on, what,
That's the plan.
that's the plan we're looking at?
Yeah, we'll look at that. And I'm not saying we're not going to take feedback from George, Gino, Dan. That's going to be absolutely a requirement. They're going to come in. and make their, and give their advice. You know, I talked to Gino, I talked to George, I talked to Dan, you know, they had some great input. But this comprehensive plan that Joe and them worked on, I mean, went all the way through county approval, so I don't want to start from scratch. I don't want to start from scratch. We don't have the time. You know, I think it's pretty. Again, the committee will have plenty of time to review the other past comprehensive plans, the original, the one Gino did, and obviously the one Joe and his team did. So we're just gonna pick a spot and go. And again, it doesn't have to be 100%. We want it to be 80%. You know, we can get it passed this year, and next year we can put together an ad hoc committee to continue to keep it evergreen, to keep reviewing it, making sure it's as current as possible. So, I guess, Todd, I'm gonna ask you if it's okay for, if you can gather some possible committee members from that side of the debate, I guess.
I'm not sure I understand that side of the debate.
Well, there's obviously, on the 2009, so it was so heated, there was obviously the committee that was for it, and then there was some opposition that was completely against it. And it just never met in the middle, and obviously we had a huge town divide here. So I'm asking for people that were against the plan to step forward and join the committee, along with people that, you know, developed it, were in favor of that version of the comprehensive plan. I mean, if you don't know anybody, that's fine. Again, I'll start reaching out on my own.
I'm not sure, so you're saying that you perceive me to be on have a position of being against that plan, or?
I just thought maybe you were a little more familiar with some of the,
Definitely familiar with the process that was undertaken. I was part of the committee last year that worked with our experts on taking a run at getting something that makes sense, but.
Okay. So, I mean, if you have some, you know, suggestions, that would be great. If you don't, I appreciate your effort. So, the next item I wanted to touch on was the groundskeeper. So we did hire Harry Bollet. So Harry pretty much wants to keep his position to cutting the grass. I'm going to make a suggestion that we bring on Mary Sue Reed. Again, she's a skilled gardener. I'm sure there's she's certified at some level to just work the garden beds. Again, only the town's garden beds, not the civic committee's garden beds. It should not change the budget line at all. So I just wanted to bring that up for discussion. I don't know if I would need to put that as a organizational note, or?
The whole board would have to go at it.
Well, I did have a long conversation with Mary Sue, and she was very interested in just handling the beds and the flowers around town,
All right.
town hall, so.
Do you want to
She declined the cutting of the grass, so she didn't want to do that, so.
And part of the issue was that, you know, with her license or certification, she couldn't throw down the fertilizer. Again, I'm not an expert on it, I don't know the excruciating details, but if you guys feel confident, we can make a motion right now.
I'm confident with it, so. I'll make the motion regarding the.
I'll second it.
What is the motion? Are we hiring Harry Bollet?
Harry,
Harry.
the motion is going to be,
I think they said they did that. I thought they said they did that.
oh,
Did you guys already hire here?
but Harry's being restricted, or is,
Okay, so the resolution would be to restrict Harry's duties to purely cutting the grass and hire Mary Sue Reed
to
to act
purely
as gardener.
the gardener.
We've not formally made a resolution
Correct.
to hire Harry. well, it sounds like we hired him, but.
I don't know that, I thought
just-
that had been done previously at the agenda.
No. there was
We
a
hired
resolution.
her, she hired her the whole thing. She declined the grass cutting.
So if he hasn't been hired yet, it should be a resolution to hire Harry to do the grass cutting and to hire Mary Lou Reed, Mary Sue Reed,
Do you have, does anybody have a copy of the minutes?
to,
Should we just amend the resolution?
I don't know if that has to be approved before or can be done afterwards.
What's the question?
Civil service zoning protest for one grounds. Well, maybe it's just not a big deal and you can send them a letter, which
Yeah,
I'm
I just-
okay with that too, but I
I
don't know
just
the
don't know that,
process.
yeah, I don't either.
All right, so I guess we'll table that for this week and.
I think,
But you wanna hire
we have somebody who's working already, I think we need to protect ourselves and formally hire him.
Does anybody have minutes, copies of minutes? We can amend the resolution? While we're looking for the minutes, let's move on, because time's getting tight here. Record Advisory Board appointments. As we had a resolution last month, resolution was they allowed a supervisor